All right. Last week we would have completed the exercises in lesson 10. So this week, inshallah, we will be, and of course, we started reading lesson 11 last week. So we're going to continue with reading lesson 11 this week. And of course, we're going to read it a couple of times, and then we're going to go through line by line, the translation and some of the sentence structure and so on. All right. So inshallah, last week I read the first page. So what you're going to do now, we're going to read it again, and you all can read after me. After that, we're going to go on to the second page. All right. So you all can say after me, Bismillah. Hope everybody can see the screen, or you can follow in your book. All right. Bismillah. Ad-darsul hadi ashara. Ad-darsul hadi ashara. The 11th lesson. Right, so this conversation is taking place where? In the bus or in a bus, right? So say after me, fil hafilati. Fil hafilati. Al-hafila is a bus. All right? Al-awwalu, first person is saying, Assalamu alaikum. Al-thani, wa alaykum assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Al-awwalu. Al-awwalu, masmuka ya akhi. Al-thani, ismi Abdullah. اسمي عبد الله وما اسمك الأول اسمي فيصل أطالب أنت يا عبد الله أطالب أنت يا عبد الله عبد الله نعم فيصل أين تدرس يا أخي؟ أين تدرس يا أخي؟ عبد الله أدرس بجامعة الرياض أدرس بجامعة الرياض فيصل في أي كلية تدرس عبد الله أدرس في كلية الهندسة أدرس في كلية الهندسة فيصل في أي سنة تدرس؟ في أي سنة تدرس؟ عبد الله أدرس في السنة الثانية. Right. I want you all to, when you're reading, just to think about the words that you are reading a little bit. All right. In the previous lesson, we would have introduced, or the book would have introduced the present tense verb. All right. And we said before that, when we were doing the past tense verb, the past tense verb has suffixes added to it. All right. But with the present tense, you have prefixes added before it, and later on you will see there are suffixes as well added to the end of it. All right, end of the verb. All right. So in the previous lesson, we met the first suffix, which is the ya. Okay, so you had ذهب يذهب. Right? Darasa yadrusu. With the ya added. And we said that ya going on to the front of the present tense verb represents what? The third person masculine singular. Third person masculine singular. Okay. So darasa, he studied, past tense. Yadrusu, he studies, present tense. Okay. With the ya added at the front. Now we are seeing two different letters added before the root letters of the verb. All right, so just as I have yadrusu, we have here now tadrusu, and then we have also adrusu. Okay, so you have the ta added, and you also have the hamza on the aleph added at the beginning. So you have tadrusu and adrusu. From the context, I'm sure most of us would figure out tadrusu is you study, or you are studying. You study, present tense. All right. Adrusu, I study. Okay. So we see that from the context here. So we have been introduced to the different forms of the present tense verb in a conversational setting here. All right. So just remember, so far we met ya for third person, masculine, singular. Now we are meeting ta for second person, masculine, singular. So we have tadrusu, ta added at the beginning. All right. And we also have the hamza for adrusu. This is first person singular. First person singular. Right? When you're talking about first person, it doesn't matter. It's the same for whether the person speaking is masculine or feminine. You use the same form of the first person. Right? So let's look at it again. So just keep that in mind as we read on the passage. Okay. So Abdullah is saying adrusu, I study. Okay. So you see the hamza added at the beginning there, right? Adrusu fi sanati thaniyati. I study in the second year. Faisal asks again. Faisalun. So say after me. Faisalun. Ata'rifu al-muhandisa Salmana. Right. So do you know the engineer Salman? So you see the verb here. Arafa ya'rifu. Here we have ta'rifu, you, masculine, singular. Right? Let's go on again. Abdullah replies. So repeat after me. Abdullah. طبعا طبعا هو أستاذي هو أحسن مدرس في الكلية. Again. طبعا هو أستاذي هو أحسن مدرس في الكلية. Right. Going on to the next page. We didn't read this last week, so it's a new part of the lesson. So let me read first, and please follow in your books or on screen. Right? So try to follow closely, and then we'll read it again after, inshallah. Faisalun. من هؤلاء الفتية؟ من هؤلاء الفتية الذي معك؟ من هؤلاء الفتية الذي معك؟ Again, من هؤلاء الفتية الذي معك؟ Answer. كأنهم إخوتك. كأنهم إخوتك. كأنهم إخوتك. Read the whole thing again. من هؤلاء الفتية الذي معك؟ كأنهم إخوتك. Abdullah replies, نعم هؤلاء إخوتي. نعم هؤلاء إخوتي. لي أربعة إخوة. لي أربعة إخوة وثلاث أخوات. وثلاث أخوات. Again. نعم هؤلاء إخوتي لي أربعة إخوة لي أربعة إخوة وثلاث أخوات وثلاث أخوات فيصل أين يدرس هؤلاء أين يدرس هؤلاء عبد الله replies and lists a long list here of information about his siblings. All right, so he's going off on a little monologue here. So Abdullah says, أما إخوتي كلهم يدرسون بالجامعة. Again, أما إخوتي فكلهم يدرسون بالجامعة. Right? Again, أما إخوتي فكلهم يدرسون بالجامعة. Then he goes on to list them by name. عيسى وهو أكبر مني. So there's a little side note. You see the little dash there? So the side note is that, and he is bigger than me. عيسى وهو أكبر مني يدرس في كلية الطب. يدرس في كلية الطب. Studies in Faculty of Medicine. وإبراهيم يدرس في كلية التجارة. Again, وإبراهيم يدرس في كلية التجارة. Right? Ibrahim studies in the Faculty of Commerce, right, or business. وإسحاق يدرس في كلية الآداب. وإسحاق يدرس في كلية الآداب. إسحاق studies in the Faculty of Arts. وإسماعيل يدرس في كلية العلوم. وإسماعيل يدرس في كلية العلوم. And Ismail studies in the Faculty of Sciences, right? Again, وإسماعيل يدرس في كلية العلوم. وهؤلاء الثلاثة أصغر مني. وهؤلاء الثلاثة أصغر مني. And these three are smaller than me or younger than me. All right? وأما الأخوات فيدرسن في المدرسة المتوسطة. Again, وأما الأخوات فيدرسن في المدرسة المتوسطة. Right? One more time. وأما الأخوات فيدرسن في المدرسة المتوسطة. And as for my sisters, they study in middle school. Mutawassitati is middle school, right? Then he goes on to list them by name. Zainabu tadrusu في السنة الأولى وسلمى تدرس في السنة الثانية وليلى تدرس في السنة الثالثة. Right, again, one more time. Zainabu, let's highlight it here. زينب تدرس في السنة الأولى وسلمى تدرس في السنة الثانية والليلى تدرس في السنة الثالثة. Right? That's pretty clear. Right? Zainab studies in first year, Salma second year, and Layla third year. Right? فيصل في أي مدرسة تدرس أخواتك؟ في أي مدرسة تدرس أخواتك؟ عبد الله يدرسن في مدرسة في مدرسة خالد ابن الوليد or خالد ابن الوليد. Right? So they study in a school called Khalid ibn al-Walid. للبنات بمكة. للبنات بمكة. So they study in a school called Khalid bin Walid for girls in Makkah. So there's a school in Makkah, that is a girls' school. فيصل أين تسكنون أين تسكنون أنتم؟ أين تسكنون أنتم? Where do you all live? Plural, right? Abdullah. إخوتي يسكنون في مهاجع الجامعة، أما أنا فأسكن مع قريب لي. Right? Again. إخوتي يسكنون في محاجع الجامعة. There's the dormitories in the university. أما as for أنا and as for me. أما أنا فأسكن مع قريب لي. I stay with relatives or irrelative. Right? فيصل أمتزوج أنت يا عبد الله؟ Again. أمتزوج أنت يا عبد الله؟ عبد الله لا، لست بمتزوج. لست بمتزوج. فيصل ما عنوانك؟ ما عنوانك؟ What is your address? عبد الله هذا بطاقتي. هذا بطاقتي فيها عنواني. فيها عنواني. This is my card, on it is my address. Next page. فيصل أشكرك يا أخي، أنا مسرور بلقائك. Again. أشكرك يا أخي، أنا مسرور بلقائك. بلقائك. أنا مسرور بلقائك. أنا سأنزل في المحطة القادمة. Again. أنا سأنزل في المحطة القادمة. Again. أنا سأنزل في المحطة القادمة. عبد الله في أمان الله وإلى اللقاء. في أمان الله وإلى اللقاء. Right, so I'm literally meaning this, so inshallah, just going through the reading of it, right? Last line. السائق لفيصل هذا الباب. هذا الباب للدخول يا أخي. النزول من هناك. النزول من هناك. All right, so that's the end of the passage here. We're going to go over it again. You're going to say after me, inshallah, and we will read. So we'll read it together. I'll say it first, and you say after me. try to follow in the book or try to follow on screen. All right. When you finish it, then inshallah we'll go through it. All right. I won't ask anyone to read today because I want you all to practice it, practice reading. And next week, inshallah, we will read it again and everyone will get a chance to read parts of it. All right. Inshallah. So go over it again. Say after me, please. Bismillah. الدرس الحادي عشر. We read this already, but we're going to do it again, right? في الحافلة الأول السلام عليكم. الثاني وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. الأول ما اسمك يا أخي؟ الثاني اسمي عبد الله. وما اسمك؟ الأول اسمي فيصل. أطالب أنت يا عبد الله؟ عبد الله نعم. فيصل أين تدرس يا أخي؟ عبد الله أدرس بجامعة الرياض. فيصل في أي كلية تدرس؟ عبد الله أدرس في كلية الهندسة. فيصل في أي سنة تدرس؟ عبد الله أدرس في السنة الثانية. فيصل أتعرف المهندس سلمان؟ أتعرف المهندس سلمان؟ مهندس أتعرف المهندس سلمان؟ عبد الله طبعا of course هو أستاذي هو أحسن مدرس في الكلية. Of course, he is my lecturer. He is the best teacher in the faculty. So go on to the new page now. So say after me. I'll go a little slower on this page. فيصل من هؤلاء الفتيات الذي معك؟ من هؤلاء فتيات الذي معك؟ كأنهم إخوتك. عبد الله نعم هؤلاء إخوتي. لي 4 إخوة و3 أخوات. فيصل أين يدرس هؤلاء؟ أين يدرس هؤلاء؟ عبد الله أما إخوتي فكلهم يدرسون بالجامعة. Again. أما إخوتي فكلهم يدرسون بالجامعة. Again. أما إخوتي فكلهم يدرسون بالجامعة. عيسى وهو أكبر مني يدرس في كلية الطب. عيسى وهو أكبر مني يدرس في كلية الطب. وإبراهيم يدرس في كلية التجارة. All right, I want you all to remember this, right? So here Abdullah is speaking to who? Faisal. All right. So his brothers are there, but they are not in the conversation. All right. So they are what you call third person. They are being spoken about. They might be in the other part of the bus or the seat behind, but they're not in that direct conversation. So they're not first person, they're not second person, they're third person. So when he speak about each of them in turn, he use what? The third person masculine singular. All right? Because they are not speaking and he's not speaking to them. So they're not first and not second. Okay, they are third person, even though they're right nearby or they might be right with him. Right? So but he's using the third person. So what right, so say after me again. Wa Ibrahimu yadrusu fi kulliyati tijarati. وإسحاق يدرس في كلية الآداب. وإسحاق يدرس في كلية الآداب. وإسماعيل يدرس في كلية العلوم. وإسماعيل يدرس في كلية العلوم. وهؤلاء الثلاثة وهؤلاء الثلاثة أصغر مني. أصغر مني. وأما الأخوات فيدرسن في المدرسة المتوسطة. وأما الأخوات فيدرسن في المدرسة المتوسطة. في المدرسة المتوسطة. زينب تدرس في السنة الأولى. زينب تدرس في السنة الأولى. وسلمى تدرس في السنة الثانية. وليلى تدرس في السنة الثالثة. فيصل في أي مدرسة تدرس أخواتك؟ في أي مدرسة تدرس أخواتك؟ عبد الله يدرسن في مدرسة خالد ابن الوليد. خالد بن الوليد. للبنات بمكة. فيصل أين تسكنون أنتم؟ أين تسكنون أنتم؟ عبد الله. إخوتي يسكنون في مهاجع الجامعة. Again, إخوتي يسكنون في في مهاجع الجامعة. أما أنا فأسكن مع قريب لي. أما أنا فأسكن مع قريب لي. فيصل. أمتزوج أنت يا عبد الله؟ يا عبد الله. أمتزوج أنت يا عبد الله؟ عبد الله. لا، لست بمتزوج. لا، لست بمتزوج. فيصل. ما عنوانك؟ ما عنوانك؟ عبد الله. هذه بطاقتي فيها عنواني. فيها عنواني. فيصل. أشكرك يا أخي. أشكرك يا أخي. أنا مسرور بلقائك. بك. sorry. أنا مسرور بلقائك. أنا سأنزل في المحطة القادمة. القادمة. أنا سأنزل في المحطة القادمة. Again. أنا سأنزل في المحطة القادمة. عبد الله. في أمان الله وإلى اللقاء. السائق لفيصل. هذا الباب. هذا الباب للدخول. يا أخي. النزول من هنا. All right. So let's go over it again. This time we're going to go through the translation of it. All right. Anybody have any problems? Now, besides the meaning of the words, which we're going to go through now, any other questions? We're going to go through the meaning and some of the grammar, inshallah. Some of the new concepts in grammar, we won't go through it now. When you go through the exercises, we would see the application of it, and we would see, we will get practice in those new areas, right? I may mention it when you come across it, but otherwise, we're just basically going to go through the vocabulary now, all right? Any questions? You all have a 2-minute break? Are they good? Some say no, some say yes. We're gonna go through the meaning, right? So, Ad-Darsul Hadi Ashara, 11th lesson. Fil-Khafilati, in the bus, right? Al-Awwalu, the first person is saying Assalamu alaikum. Second person answers Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay? So generally we normally say Assalamu alaikum, but we can say if you're speaking to one person, we can say Assalamu alayka. If it's masculine, or if it's one person feminine, you can say Assalamu alayki. All right? We know those of you who will have come across it, Asim, you know, when people sing and they have this belief that the prophet is present in the gathering, right? This is the belief behind some of these concepts. You know, they would sing part of it, Assalamu alayka, all right? Saying that to the prophet. Of course, that is masculine singular, right? But generally speaking, when we greet each other, we say Assalamu alaykum, all right? And there's certain wisdoms behind that, which we won't get into. For example, even though there's one person there, we can say Assalamu alaikum because we're saying kum as is second person plural, which is inclusive of masculine and feminine. And so therefore is a greeting, is a general greeting. All right. And you could probably get opinions as to why we say kum and not ka if there's one person present. I won't go into that right now. Right? So the reply, Athani, wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Al-awwalu, masmuka ya akhi. What is your name, my brother? Right? So the first person asks, Masmuka ya akhi, what is your name, my brother? Oh, my brother. The second person replied, Ismi Abdullah. My name is Abdullah. Wa masmuka. And what is your name? Al-awwal, the first person says, Ismi Faisalun. My name is Faisal. Then he asks, Atalibun anta? A student are you? Or in English we will say, are you a student? Ya Abdullah, Ya Abdullah, O Abdullah. Are you a student, O Abdullah? Abdullah replies, Naam, yes. Faisal then asks, Aina tadrusu, Ya Akhi? Aina tadrusu, Ya Akhi? Where do you study, O my brother? Notice again here, we're focusing on in this lesson the verb and how the verb changes. So we have some of the verbs here, right? For example, darasa, yadrusu, tadrusu, adurusu. We have sakana, yaskunu, yaskununa, and so on, right? So look out for the verbs, look out to see how they change, okay? The first one we say past tense. Yadrusu, he studies, present tense, right? Tadrusu, you, masculine singular, study, all right? Adurusu, I, right? Singular, study, right? So let's go through it again here. Faisal asks, where do you study? Abdullah replies, Adurusu, I study. See how it changed here? The ta changed to what? Hamzana Aleph. All right? Tadrusu, Adurusu. Okay? Adurusu, I study Bijami'atir Riyadi in Riyadh University. All right? Faisal asks, في أي كلية تدرس? In what faculty do you study? Again, we see the verb here, tadrusu, tad, with time before, right? I want you all to remember that because we're going to see it again in a different meaning later on, right? This tadrusu with the time front. Please take note of that, special note of that particular version of the verb. I want you all to pay particular attention to that. So here we are seeing it where where Faisal is speaking to Abdullah. Single, masculine singular is speaking to what? Masculine singular. All right. Second person that is speaking to each other. All right. So Faisal is saying, what faculty do you study? What form of the verb we using here again? Tadrusu, tadrusu. All right. Why am I emphasizing this? We will see it later on in the passage. All right. So again, remember masculine singular, second person, tadrusu, tadrusu. Right. Then Abdullah is saying here, Adrusu fi kulliyatil handasati. I study in the engineering faculty or faculty of engineering. Okay. Faisal asks again, fi ayyi sanatin tadrusu. In what year do you study? Again, masculine singular, speaking to Abdullah. In what year do you study? Abdullah replies, Adrusu. I study fi sanati thaniyati. I am in second year. I'm in second year. Faisal asks again, Ata'arifu al-muhandisa Salmana. Al-muhandisa Salmana. Ata'arifu, do you know? So arafa, ya'rifu means to know, right? So you have arafa, ya'rifu, change ya ta ta, we get ta'rifu for second person, masculine singular. Okay, you know, right? So again, arafa, he knew, ya'rifu, he knows, third person, masculine. And then here you have now ta'rifu, you know. Okay, and then of course you have the hamza in front here, which is not the hamza, it's part of the verb. This hamza is to ask a question. So be very careful. You recall, you can ask a question by putting a hamza with an aleph in front of the statement. Okay, that's all. So you put the hamza with the aleph, right? Al-qalamu alal maktab. The pen is on the desk. We can change that into a question. We say in front of it. Qalamu alal maktab is the pen on the desk, right? So here we have this hamza is not part of the verb as you see on the line above. This line above here, we have adrusu, I study. Here we have the hamza to ask the question, right? Ta'rifu. Do you know ta'rifu al-muhandisa Salmana? Do you know the engineer Salman? Abdullah. Taban, of course, surely. Huwa ustadi, he is my lecturer. Huwa ahsanu mudarrisin, he is the best teacher. Fil kulliyati, in the faculty. He is the best teacher in the faculty. Faisal asks again, Man ha'ula il-fityatu alladhi ma'aka? And who are these young men alladhi ma'aka, that is with you? Who are these young men that is with you? Ka'annahum ikhwatuka. So Faisal watched them and he see the resemblance. So he says as if they are your brothers. Ka'annahum. Ka'annahum is as if they are ikhwatuka, your brothers. Abdullah. Na'am. Yes. Ha'ula'i ikhwati. These are my brothers. Ha'ula'i ikhwati. These are my brothers. Right? Li arba'atu ikhwatin. Li arba'atu ikhwatin. I have 4 brothers. Wa thalathu akhawatin. And 3 sisters. All right? Remember when we counting from 3 to 10, the number is opposite gender to the thing that is counted. Remember that? From 3 to 10, the number will be feminine if the thing counted is masculine. Okay? And the number will be masculine if the thing counted is feminine. So we see in it here, arba'atu is feminine with the tar marbuta added at the end. Why? Because what are we counting here? The brothers. Okay? Ikhwati. And then you have thalathu is masculine. There's no taramut at the end here for this number. Why? Because the thing that is counted is what? Feminine. All right? Akhawat is plural for ukht, which is sister. All right? So Faisal asks, Aina yadrusu ha'ulai. Aina yadrusu ha'ulai. So where do these study? Where do these study? So we see here, yadrusu. Now remember when we starting a verbal sentence, we would have mentioned this many lessons ago. When we're starting a verbal sentence, we can start the verbal sentence with a singular form of the verb, even if the subject or the fa'il, the doer of the verb, is singular or plural. Once we're starting with a verb, we can choose to use the singular form. Okay? So here, ha'ulai is plural, but we are using the singular form of the verb because it comes at the beginning. All right? Yadrusu aina yadrusu ha'ulai. Where do these study? So then Abdullah lists for Faisal all the information, right? Amma ikhwati, as for my brothers, فَكُلُّهُمْ يَدْرُسُونَ بِالْجَامِعَةِ. Amma ikhwati, as for my brothers, so kulluhum. Kullu means all of whom, all of them, right? So all of them, yadrusuna. So we see here, this is the plural form of the verb because the verb is coming in the middle of the sentence. So we use the plural form. Right? فَكُلُّهُمْ يَدْرُسُونَ بِالْجَامِعَةِ. So all of them study in the university. All right? All of them study in the university. So look at what happens to the verb there. Darasa yadrusu. Remember that? Darasa, he studied. Yadrusu, he studies, present tense with the ya in front of it. All right? But when you get the plural, we add the wow and the noon at the end. So we get yadrusuna. Yadrusuna. Right? So this, in this case, we have to go through this some more in more detail and all the different forms, but I'm just mentioning it here. We see the verb now, the root verb, darasa. It has the prefix added, the ya, but it also has what? A waw and a noon added as a suffix at the end. So you have something added at the beginning and something added at the end. All right? So just as I said, with the present tense verb, you have prefix and suffix. In some cases, you even have the suffix, right? So as for my brothers, so all of them are studying in university. And then it goes on to list each of them. Isa wa huwa akbaru minni, and he is bigger than me. Yadrusu, he is studying, or he studies fi kulliyati tibbi, in the faculty of medicine. All right, he studies the faculty of medicine. But Ibrahimu yadrusu, and Ibrahim studies fi kulliyati tijarati, in the faculty of commerce. But Ishaku yadrusu, and Ishaq studies fi kulliyati al-adabi, in the faculty of arts. Okay. But Ismailu, and Ismail yadrusu fi kulliyati al-ulumi, and Ismail studies in the faculty of science. All right. وَهَؤُلَاءِ الثَّلَاثَةُ أَصْغَرُ مِنِّي. And these three are younger than me or smaller than me. All right. So you have the verb, you have the word هَؤُلَاءِ. Remember, هَؤُلَاءِ is plural for what? Remember, we have هذا, هذه, and we have هَؤُلَاءِ. So هَؤُلَاءِ is plural for هذا or هذه. هذا. So what's the plural for هذه? Anybody remember?
هؤلاء.
Same thing, right? So it's the same thing, the plural for hada and hadihi, hadihi, right? So we use this for plural masculine and plural feminine, okay? So haula'i athalathatu, and these three asgharu minni, they are younger than me or smaller than me, all right? Amma al-akhawatu fayadrusna fil madrasatil mutawassitati. And as for the sisters, fayadrusna. Look at how the word changes here again. Darasa, yadrusu. The fa before it there is just a conjunction to say so or then, right? So that is not part of the verb. That is just a conjunction added on, like wa, fa, thumma, and so on, right? So don't take only fa in terms of analyzing the verb, right? So the verb starts from the ya. Darasa yadrusu, right? Then you have yadrusna. This is the feminine plural, third person. Feminine plural, third person. Okay? So because he's speaking about his three sisters, right? Fayadrusna, they study fil madrasatil mutawassitati, in middle school. And then you list each of them. Zainabu tadrusu fi sanatil ula, وسلمى تدرس في السنة الثانية وليلى تدرس في السنة الثالثة. Remember I said earlier in the passage to please take special note of this form of the verb, which is tadrusu. Remember that? I just said that a few minutes ago, right? So you have darasa yadrusu. Then you have the ya changing to ta if it is masculine second person. Right? Remember that? So when Abdullah was speaking with Faisal, this is speaking here, but when you're speaking about himself, Faisal was asking him, Aina tadrusu, where do you study? He's speaking to who? Abdullah. So this was in second person masculine context. Here now, Abdullah is speaking about who? About his sisters, each in turn. So he's speaking about somebody who's feminine, singular, because he's speaking about each of them separately. So singular, right? But it's not second person, it's third person. So what is the form for feminine singular third person? Tadrusu, the same exact word as second person masculine. So second person masculine is tadrusu, third person feminine is also tadrusu, right? So the same word. So we need to take note of that. And of course, question somebody might ask, well, how do we know the difference? How do you know? And it comes back to the same answer basically, which is in context, right? In context. And of course, you have many cases of that in other languages, not the least of which is English, where words have same spelling, same pronunciation, but have different meanings, right? Okay, yeah, so these are called homographs, and homophones, and so on. Words that sound similar, words that are spelt exactly the same, but they have different meanings, right? And how do you know the different meaning? Through the context. So similarly here, this verb tadrusu, you have to look at the context to know, is it referring to a second person masculine or is it referring to third person feminine? Okay, so here we have it again. Zainabu tadrusu fi sanatil ula. Zainab is studying, or she studies in first year. Wa Salma tadrusu fi sanatil thaniya. And Salma studies in second year. Wa Layla tadrusu fi sanatil thalithati. And Layla studies in third year. Faisal asks, في أي مدرسة تدرس أخواتك? So you see in here, they use the singular form of the verb, even though we're talking about the sisters, right? Tadrusu. Because it's coming before, the doer of the verb, right? So they use the singular third person feminine singular form, right? Abdullah is implying. So Faisal asked, what school do your sisters study? Abdullah replied, يدرسنا يدرسنا في المدرسة خالد بن الوليد للبنات بمكة. Studying in the school of Khalid ibn Walid or Khalid ibn Walid school for girls in Makkah. Inshallah, it's 9:15. We will pause here today. Any questions on what we have read so far? We have a little bit to go again. I don't want to rush it through, so I'm going to pause because we have to do a little explanation on these, the last few lines we just read, as well as the balance of the passage. So we're going to stop here. Any quick questions?
Just remind us, why is it be Makati? But why is it be Makata and not be Makati?
Makkata, right. So it'd be Makkata because the word Makkah is mamnu min as-sarf. So remember words that are mamnu min as-sarf, they don't take kasra, even though they're in the genitive case, they take the fatha, right? So they will take fatha both in case of nasb and in case of jar. Okay, these are words which are proper nouns which end with ta marbuta. That's why we say the Makkah ta. Okay. Any quick questions again? All right. Okay, Jazakumullah khair. We'll say dua for kafaran Surah Al-Asr. Close off, and next week, inshallah, we continue with the balance of the translation of the passage, and we get into the exercises, inshallah. All right. Please try reading over the passage. Try reading over the passage. We'll do a little bit more reading again next week for the first few minutes, and then go into the explanation of the balance of it. All right. The reading, both listening, repeating, and reading on your own is what is, inshallah, ta'ala, will be very beneficial, right, in picking up and laying a foundation to move forward. All right, inshallah. So if there are no other questions or any announcements, inshallah, we close off with Waqf Kafaran Surah Al-Asr. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات تواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.